Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Reverend Sherri James, and this is the Metaphysical Bible Hangout. This is a Thursday night class, Thursday night Bible study for Up Church, and it is international. So there are people from literally all over the world that are tuning in. I want to give a shout out to Tracy from Australia. Just met her tonight, so happy that she is joining us, and Olga in New Jersey. I want to say Willingboro, but that is probably not where you are. We got Baltimore in the house, Chicago in the house, San Diego. Where are you from, Zeline? Where are you from? What area of the country are you in?
I'm in Ohio.
Ohio. Ohio. See, that's what I'm saying. We are worldwide. So I'm excited tonight because this conversation is really about mental clarity, and some of what's been coming to me from spirit is really that the person I'm speaking to is really the spiritual entrepreneur, and that word doesn't really exist anywhere, and generally it means somebody that's selling Bible products or something like that, but that's not really what it is. It is really this conversation with people who want to use spiritual principle for their business. So it really is not about whether or not you sell a spiritually oriented product. It's actually very much about how you approach life and business, and that you are integrated through and through, that you're not one way in your church life and another way in your business life and another way in your family life, but that you are congruent from head to toe. And that wherever I find you, though you may wear many hats, you're not wearing many masks. Difference. Very, very big difference. So I'm working on this whole camera thing, guys. The light is just giving me the blues, but I'm just going to go with it because I was never the camera person in college. I was the producer. So I'm going to produce a camera person. Let me pull up the PowerPoint. God bless. So this is the conversation. The conversation that we're having is, do you have the mental clarity to take your business to the next level? And the chapter that we're using is chapter 14. It's called All the Answers, which I thought was hilarious. So it's like, yeah, you can get all, I got all the answers for you. But that's not quite what he was saying. But it was that you can go get all those answers from God, for whatever that you need. I want to take a pulse and see where you are. Just 60 seconds. I want to get a sense of, like, how often do you find yourself uncertain of the next step to take in your business? And if you're not a business owner, that's okay. This conversation is still relevant to you. How often do you find yourself uncertain of how or when or why or what to do as far as the next step in your life? And I set a timer, and we could take a moment to just let me know what that is. How often do you find yourself uncertain of the next step to take in your business or in life if you are not an entrepreneur? How often? Would you say most of the time, some of the time, none of the time? None of the time. I always got my game on. I always know what I'm supposed to be doing. Alita says often. Olga says often. Andrea says often. Zeline says very often because it's a risk. Okay. And Constance says, oh, I live that, wear many hats, not many masks. Yes. Constance says, every time I feel disconnected from source. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Let me go over here and just check the chat. Sydney. Tracy is from Sydney. Hey. And Alita says, hi, Tracy, welcome, welcome. Eve says often, and Joe says it's on and off. When I'm up, I'm up so often. Got it. I understand that you have those days when you're like on, and those days when it's like, man. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about that tonight, and really kind of troubleshoot. We're going to talk about, like, what is it that you need to do to stay in that space of attunement, where you are in alignment, like Constance says, where you are not disconnected from your source. So that's what our conversation is about tonight. So we have some announcements, opening prayer. We're going to talk about why universal law matters for you. And then we're going to talk about the importance of mental clarity and then mental clarity for the spiritual entrepreneur, and then Q&A. And of course, please ask questions throughout. I want this to be a dialogue and not a monologue. So I'm grateful for your comments and feedback and all of that. Know your why. You know, there is a guy that I've been watching. He has a show on the internet called Impact Theory. And he was talking about his show in relation to The Matrix, which is his favorite movie. And I was thinking, you know, my favorite movie is Inception. And I don't know if you guys have seen Inception, but Inception is this amazing film done by Christopher Nolan. And what the basic premise of the film is that these guys are trying to hack the mind of a mark, let's say, and plant an idea in his mind such that he accepts this idea as his own. And as I was listening to Tom with Impact Theory talk about the Matrix and how much he loves the Matrix and pulling people out of the Matrix, I realized that what the Bible Hangout is really about is about this single idea, right? Because what happens when you get an idea in your mind is that literally it shifts everything. It's like a domino and it shifts everything. And so if you accept the idea that I am a child of God, like really accept that. Like I asked this question at the Gold Rush conference earlier this year. I said, you know, we have things that we're proud about, right? And we walk around and we pop our collars and we are, you know, rubbernecking and whatever we do when we're, you know, proud of something like, oh, I got chosen for, I'm in the Lynx, or I'm a member of such and such and such and such sorority, or, you know, there's a way that you carry, oh, my children are a part of Jack and Jill, and, you know, all the things that are like our badges of honor, right? How would you really carry yourself if you really believed that you are a child of God? Like not in some kind of ethereal, yeah, you know, we're all children of God. You know, me, Trump, and Kellyanne Conway, and Cam Newton, we all children of God. I mean, you know, I'm using those names because they were just in the news recently, but not like that. But like if you really rolled like a child of God, how would you carry yourself? And so the Bible Hangout is really about that one idea. Can you buy into this one idea that I am divine, and because I'm divine, then all these other things? Like, is that a possibility? And so I live for that. Like that's awesome to me. And if you watch Inception, that's really what you see happening, is that with all the other stuff that's happening in the film, they're trying to get this guy to buy into the idea that his father wants him to be his own man and make his own decisions about the company that he's inheriting from his father. And in the process of them trying to plant the idea, they're literally, in a very picturesque way, going through all the things that you would have to go through to plant an idea in the mind. And literally all of the thoughts that are opposed to the idea of him being his own man take up arms against this one lone idea that's like traveling to the deeper parts of his mind. So that's what I see the Bible Hangout as, that it's this one idea that I'm divine, like, and that it really lands to such a degree, it shifts everything else in your life. Because when the idea takes, everything else in his life shifts. Everything else in his life shifts. And so anyway, that's what the Bible Hangout is about for me, and why I get excited about it, and why I hope that you're excited about it. And so this is the one sheet from it. You know, no, I'm not coming at you with a gun. That's just what was happening in the film. But take a look at that movie. You'll see it in a totally different light. The Bible Hangout is free, but it does cost. And if you want to be a part of this exchange, I teach and practice the law of giving and receiving. And I believe that you give where you receive your spiritual food. If this has blessed you and you want to see me take this, not just to Australia, but England and the Antarctica and Africa, the whole continent, please consider making a gift at revsherri.com. And a gift of any size is greatly appreciated because it makes a difference. And who knows, there may be a camera operator here next week, depending on how generous you decide to be. The Bible Hangout. So this series has a structure. We've got the blog, which comes out on Thursdays, the Bible Hangout, which we're doing right now, and then the Universal Law Library, which I love and am excited about. And what we're aiming for is to be the largest user-generated library of information on universal law. And so I've been adding things. You guys have been adding things. As you find things, please send them. I add them in and give you a shout out. It's free. You just have to be a subscriber to my newsletter. And this week's goodie is the full audiobook of Catherine Ponder's The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. So just dope times 3,000, because Catherine Ponder is like the OG, prosperity teacher, and just amazing. And the full audiobook is there. So if you haven't explored her book and you're not a reader, but you're a listener, then please take a look. Go over to the law library. It's free. Just sign up. Send a friend. Tell a friend. Anybody can get in there. You probably didn't know this, but I'm available for what I call spiritual mentoring. And it feels a little bit different for me from coaching, because it very much is rooted in my prayer practice and in how I approach life in general. And so I call it spiritual mentoring. But I can work with you on anything that you want to accomplish. And what I've really been doing over the last year is really upping the value that I bring. That's probably been the biggest thing, is really just getting to the place where I can move you from potential to reality. It's one thing to have a dream. It's another thing to take action on that. And I've been doing that in my own life and working with techniques to move people to action. So if you've been sitting on a dream, or you've been sitting in a space of inertia about something that you really, really want, then I say consider working with me. You can get information at revsherri.com. You can shoot me an email at sherri@revsherri.com, and let's see if it's right for us to work together, because I can help you, and there's like testimonies that say I can help you. So that's it. God bless you. God bless me. The scripture for this is, do not think that I have come to abolish the law. I have not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill. And that's what this whole thing is about. How do we fulfill the law? How do we fulfill the law of guidance, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight? How do we fulfill it? And so if you could just take a moment to just relax and just be in the space of infinite possibility. That what we're doing tonight in the process of study, and I really understand my teacher, Mary Tumpkin, who had made her transition in 2013, she really wanted study to be considered a part of prayer. When we talk about what prayer is, because there's something that happens when you study where you literally collapse the distance between where you are and where you want to be. And the thing is that where you are and where you want to be, that chasm is spanned by the acquisition of skills. That you may be one or two skills away from the full realization of who you are. And this study that we do begins to open you up and close that distance. And so it's such a beautiful thing that happens here on Thursday nights. And I just thank God for it. I'm grateful for it. It's just an exciting time. And I'm grateful for the privilege of serving in this way and sharing what the Spirit has given me. And I pray that it is a benefit to you. So why universal law matters. The mental clarity you need is going to be found through the application of universal law. So I said that I wrote this and I didn't mean it in a sarcastic way, but it kind of comes across that way. When he, speaking of Jesus, said, I will never leave you nor forsake you, he meant it. Like it hit me that you don't have to guess at anything about this universe. You don't have to guess at one thing about this universe, that everything that you need, that you can turn to the power and presence of God in the form of universal law and figure it out. And it's something, this was not in relation to this lesson, but this came up in a previous lesson, that if you're figuring it out, it's not you, it's not God, because God doesn't require you to figure it out. That doesn't mean you don't learn lessons. It doesn't mean that there is not this growth process that happens. But if you're figuring it out, it's not God, it's you. Because the Spirit peacefully will provide you with everything that you need in the right order that you need it. So oftentimes what happens when we're struggling against circumstances is that we're trying to force a situation that is either not ready, that shouldn't happen, or that is not for our highest good. But we've got this idea in our mind that this is the way that it should go because it's the way that we conceived it. And so we're trying to force it into being. That you know, who you must become in order to realize the dream that God put on your heart is designed in an orderly way. And there's a blueprint for it. And if you will trust that blueprint, if you will trust that the blueprint even exists, and then trust God enough to ask for the blueprint, it will be revealed to you in an orderly fashion, meaning that you don't get the whole blueprint at one time. You don't need the whole blueprint at one time because you can only do the next move. So you get the next move that you're meant to take. And if you're willing to learn to do that faith walk where I only need the next piece of information, it changes the way that you come at life. It changes the way that you show up in the universe. And it makes life more peaceful, and you have the ability to be more present. I want to check the comments. Got it. Okay, cool. So I want to talk about the importance of mental clarity. And I'm going to say this, that to bridge the distance between where you are and where you want to be, you need mental clarity to know what to do and when to do it. Because sometimes you know what to do, but it's not the time to do it. Sometimes you know what to do, but you won't do it. Sometimes you don't know what to do, you know, or how to figure out what to do. And when I was writing this, it put me back in the space. This was the year 2000. I had launched my first official company. Now, I'd done other things. I'd had a lollipop business in high school. I tried my hand at promoting in college. I co-founded a theater company just after college. When I got to LA, I started a company called Mindsight Entertainment with my then boyfriend. And in 2000, I launched my first official company, meaning that I filed papers with the IRS, and it was a C Corp, and I filed taxes and all of that, right? And the thing is that I struggled, meaning I launched the company, got my little corporate papers. I was so excited. I got an office down the street from my house on Laurel Canyon Boulevard in Valley Village. And I would go into the office every day because I was disciplined. When it's time to go in, I'm in. And I literally, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like this paralysis where I was just couldn't compel myself to take action. And I don't know if I mean, looking back, I think I felt overwhelmed by all the little things and big things that needed to be done. And I had no idea what was the right thing to do. And here I was sitting in this office, and I had made this big production of creating a company and the name of it, and I paid to get a logo. I should find a logo so I can show y'all a logo. I paid to get a logo done by a graphic artist. And I mean, it just was, I was doing the most. I was team too much. And looking back, probably if I were a little bit of a hypochondriac, I probably would have said I was having this anxiety attack every day, because literally what would happen is I would go into work and I would sit down at my desk and get ready to write. And then nothing would happen. Meaning that like I would get, or not just write, but I had like phone calls that needed to be made, or scripts that I needed to write notes on, or like, you know, move the bar forward, or I needed to make a prospecting call to a particular studio to see if I could get them to read the script, but I needed to do something to move it forward. And it was like I couldn't compel myself to take action. And this would go on from about 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. until about 3 in the afternoon. And then at 3 in the afternoon, it was like I would just turn on, and all of the anxiety would drain off, and then I'd be trying to scramble and take action for the rest of the day. And it was painful. I felt like such a loser through that process, and really just, you know, doubted myself because I couldn't figure out what to do. And so, you know, and I had a spiritual walk because at that point I had gone through I had entered the teacher training program for UFBL. So I was already on that path, right? So it wasn't like I didn't have a spiritual walk, but I really didn't understand how to work with God. Like God was still on Sundays. And I didn't know how to bring God out of Sunday, or my understanding of God out of Sunday into every day of the week. And so when I was reading the chapter and really preparing for tonight, I said, you know, somebody else is probably struggling with this, or probably has struggled with this, and maybe I can share some insights, because these were hard-won lessons. And so I want to share with you how to gain that mental clarity, and hopefully cut some of the time off of your experience with accessing the presence and power of God in you for mental clarity. And I won't say that, oh, I wish I had known this then, because perhaps I needed to go through this process so that I could really know it. And who knows, if somebody had said it to me, maybe I wouldn't have accepted it entirely, and I would have still had to go through the process. I don't know. But the point is that I'm sharing with you this experience so that you can make some choices. You can say, yes, I accept this information, or I reject it, or whatever, and that it improves you. What I learned through this process is really that God not only gives you a dream, but he also gives you the blueprint to fulfill that dream. And so if you can really just accept that, really let that idea roll around in your head, especially when you're in that space of anxiety of like, how am I going to find the next client? Nobody's buying. I'm sending out, I'm prospecting, but nothing's coming back. You know, that if you could just hold to the idea that that regardless if I don't know what to do next, just hold to the idea that there's a blueprint. And that if there's a blueprint, that it's possible that I could get, since it's my divine assignment, that it's possible that I could get access to it. I may not know how to get access to it, but I can get access to it. The other thing is to realize that building a business is a learning experience, right? You're going to need to acquire skills. You're going to need to learn to do things that you don't know how to do right now. There will be obstacles to overcome. There'll be setbacks. But you don't have to guess at any part of the experience. And the thing that used to trip me up with this because I would hear Reverend Della say, just ask God, just ask God. And I thought that meant that then I didn't have to learn things, meaning that God would just tell me how to do it and I would do it. But it's not quite like that. There's still this learning process, right? What happens is that you hit a roadblock and you don't know how to move past the roadblock. So you ask for divine guidance, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in this hour. You ask for divine guidance, and what you get in response is the best means for you to learn that lesson. So someone said it this way. They said, I prayed for patience and I got a line at the bank. Or I asked for humility and I got an experience that forced me to check my ego. That the Spirit is going to, when you ask for it, the Spirit is going to bring to you, through you, the experience that will best deliver the lesson that you need to move past where you are. Your job is to trust the process, is to not look at what's happening as a setback, as a sign of failure, as a letdown or any of those things, but to realize that I'm walking this walk with spirit, and that it is right and good for me to have the resources that I need. Because when I have the resources that I need, what that means is that I can then go and be of greater service in the world. So God wants me to have these things because he wants me to be of service. So settle that part in your mind too. And that may be something you may need to work with. You may need to expand your abundance concept. You may have an aversion to having enough money, meaning that you have images of who has money, and those images are negative images. Well, self-preservation is the first law of the universe, right? Of nature, excuse me. Self-preservation is the first law of nature. So you're not gonna let yourself be wealthy, because God forbid you become like those icky people who are, doing dishonest things. So you may need to work with your abundance concept. Something that Sarah Blakely, who is a billionaire founder of Spanx, something she said that I thought was powerful is that having money makes you more of who you are. Having money makes so if you're a good person, then you're more of a good person with money. And if you're a jerk, you're more of a jerk with money. Money doesn't change who you are. Money reveals who you are. That it reveals your deepest tendencies, because you have all of this opportunity to do whatever you want to do. So whoever you are at your core is going to come out, because you don't have that block of money to keep you from doing it. So if you're a giver, you're going to be more of a giver. But if you're a taker, you'll be more of a taker, because it just reveals who you are at your core. But that may be something. So the experiences that will teach you how to be who you need to be in order to do what God has called you to do are what the Spirit is going to give you. And it's going to give you the lessons in the order in which you need to learn them. And your order may be different from somebody else's order, but you've got to dare to ask and trust the process, that what comes is exactly what needs to come. So universal law will guide you. And where this comes from is Jesus's Sermon on the Mount, the 7th chapter of Matthew, the verses 7 and 8. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. And the rest of the verse 8 says, for everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be open. Now, something Reverend Della taught me is that shall is a legal word. In some versions of the scripture, you're going to find the word shall in place of will be. And when that word appears in contracts, this is true biblically and it's true in the world, that when the word shall appears, whatever follows must happen, or the responsible party will be in violation of the contract. So whenever you sign a business contract, wherever it says shall, that's got to happen. Whoever it applies to has got to do it. Like it is a non-negotiable part of the contract. So you'll see it in legal documents everywhere that such and such happens, and if this happens, then this shall happen. And it means that whatever is after it is compulsory, or is that the word I'm looking for? Well, yeah, it must happen. You don't have any option on it. So the point is that with these statements, you can read them as spiritual promises. So what Jesus is saying about how the universe works: ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be open to you. Now, if you ask, it's yours, period. If you seek, it's yours. You're going to find no matter what. And if you knock, the door is going to open. The thing is that these laws never turn off. It's not like a switch that gets flipped and then the law turns off, right? Like, it's not like it's not like, Glendale Water and Power, you don't pay the bill and so the lights go off, right? You know, you don't pray to God so the lights go off, right? So if you don't pray, you don't get asked and it is given. No, the scripture says he causes the rain to fall on the just and the unjust. It is not about whether or not you are praying to God that determines whether or not ask and it will be given to you works. It works, period. So the flip of this is to realize that something is always being given. Something is always being found. Some door is always being opened. Think about that. And so the question that you got to ask yourself is, what am I being given? What am I finding? And what doors are open to me? And can we become present to what we are asking, seeking, and knocking for? Can we lift our minds from the day-to-day grind of entrepreneurship to perceive the true ask on our hearts and the real seeking that we're doing and the actual door that we're knocking on? You know, when I was, if you would ask me when I was sitting in my office and just paralyzed by fear into inaction, right? If you would ask me, am I asking for success? Am I seeking success? And am I knocking on the door of success? I would have said, well, of course. Sometimes we're present to the things that we're doing and the doors that we're knocking on. And 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. is what, 6 hours? 6 hours of inaction in any day is not knocking on the door of success. Okay. And so sometimes we need to become present to the door that we're knocking on. 6 hours of inaction, no matter why it's inaction, whether it's just procrastination or fear, whatever makes it not happen, whatever makes you not take action, is not asking for success. It's not seeking success. And so sometimes we just have to become present to what are we actually asking and what are we actually seeking and what doors are we actually knocking on. Another way to explain this, you think about a young person, someone, you know, they are, you know, experimenting with substances. There's a door they're knocking on. There's an ask on their heart. There's a seeking that they are doing. And they will be given what they're asking for. They will find what they're seeking, and the door that they have been knocking on will open. And you can talk to them, you can, and it's like you think that this is the moment you want to live free and die young, or whatever whatever rationale you give yourself for why you're willing to walk down this road of experimenting with illicit substances. But the point is that that everything that you do is a question of some sort. Everything that you do is a seeking of some sort. Everything that you do is a knocking of some sort. And what you want to become present to is, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And is it taking me where I want to go? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? And is it taking me to where I want to go? And this is a daily, moment by moment process of self-reflection. You have to build in that time to your daily routine where you sit and think about the choices that were made and ask yourself, did I win the day? If I think back about how I structured my time, how I allocated my time resources, right? Because that's the one non-renewable resource. Yes, we have eternity, but as far as this lifetime is concerned, time is a limited, precious resource. So when I think about the allocation of my time, did I win the day? And so, but we'll get to this. You dial it back and you work in smaller chunks. You just start with, let me just win the hour, and then you move up from there. But the point is that you're being mindful of what is it that you're doing. I want to check a couple of the comments. Constance says that kind of goes back to when you were teaching about the seeds that we are planting, that asking thing. Yes, yes. And it's just to realize that there's always an asking that is happening. There is always an asking that is had. There's no moment in time where you are not asking in some form. There's no moment in time where you're not asking in some form. And sometimes you may not know what you're asking, seeking, and knocking on, but your life is an unfailing witness. You can trust the results, right? You can trust the fruit. Whatever the fruit shows you, you can trust that. And so when we consciously work with universal law, what we're going to find is that it's going to transform us from the inside out. And what we're going to learn to do is to give the right input so that the law will bring us the right output. Now, the beauty of that is that when you concentrate on doing the right input, right? So the right input is right thought, right? And right thought is going to lead you to right action. When you concentrate on doing right input, you can't do two things at one time. No one can. So when you concentrate on doing the right things, then at least for the moment that you're doing the right things, you're not doing the bad habits, the limiting behaviors, and thinking the wrong thoughts. Those things have to take a back seat. And to the degree that you intensify your right use of divine law, those bad habits, limiting behaviors, and error thinking literally will leave the landscape of your mind. You don't have to make yourself stop doing something. I want to say this, if you start doing the right thing. So I realized that when I recommitted to working out consistently, and I dedicated myself to it, meaning that it was a non-negotiable. There were no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is like, kind of brushing my teeth. Like I don't go a day without brushing my teeth. I don't go a day without working out. That when I got that kind of intensity about it, it changed what I was willing to put in my mouth. Because I can't do two things at the same time. I can't affirm health and invite sickness. I have to choose. I have to choose. Now I can flip-flop during the day, but again, that goes back to that intensity. What is the intensity with which you are pursuing right use of divine law? And if you do that, then the things that are the bad habits, the limiting behaviors, the wrong thinking, it literally drains the charge off of it. It literally drains the charge off of it. And as the charge drains off of it, you lose your taste for it. That's probably the best way to say it. That the things that used to attract you to it no longer attract you to it. Now, that doesn't happen in all cases. Sometimes you got to do, some things are rooted in your self-definition, and so you've got to really go in and work with that. But the stuff will leave if you pursue the right things. It really will. So a lot of the stuff will burn off if you pursue the right things. So the first law is seek and you will find. So he reversed the order of the Bible verse, and he goes with seek first. Seek first the spirit within and you will find. So we've already established that if you seek, whatever you're finding is proof of what you're seeking, right? But the other piece I want you to get is that you cannot find what you cannot believe. You cannot find what you cannot believe. And it could actually be said that you find just to the degree that you believe. So McArthur writes, you need to become a very special kind of seeker, one who knows, feels, senses, believes, or accepts to some degree that there is a higher power on which you can rely, in which you can trust. So you don't have to know exactly what you're searching for, but you do have to buy into this idea that the answer is not going to come from you, but from God. And so this is, again, it's easy to think of these things in terms of people who are quote unquote not believers, right? That of course they don't believe that the answer is going to come from God. But there are many people who believe in God, but don't believe they can get answers from God. They believe in God, but they don't believe that they can get answers from God. Like I said, I was where I was at the place in 2000 when I founded this company, that I believed in God. I don't think I've ever had a point in my life where I didn't believe in God, that if I consciously think about it. So it wasn't a matter of believing in God, right? But Emmett Fox says that question really doesn't have any meaning until you say what kind of God you believe in. And the thing is that I believed in God, but I didn't believe in a God that would give me answers. I believed in God, but I didn't believe in a God that would give me answers. How do I know that? Because I never asked for it. I never sought it. Not from God. I might have sought it from friends, from seminars, from books, but I didn't seek it from God. So when you seek it from God, then it doesn't matter whether it comes to you in a book, in a blog comment, in a podcast that's not even related to what you're looking for, in a commercial on TV, in the observation of animals or nature. You get what I'm saying? That when you seek, when you truly seek, you let go trying to dictate how it's supposed to come to you. So that's part of the process, is that you cannot find what you will not believe. It just doesn't, you won't even see it. Even if it came into your vicinity, you wouldn't see it because you don't believe it. Today, you have within you everything that you need to make your first million. Literally, everything that you need. But you do not have it because you do not believe it. So you cannot find the method by which to do it because the belief in you has not been turned on. Now, you turn on the belief in you, and all of a sudden, things that are right in front of your face, you just see differently. Elements that are right in front of you just take on a different look, a different feel. There's a opening up process that happens in you, and it's available to you, but it turns on your belief. So belief is really, I'll go back to the PowerPoint, belief is really indispensable. It is, and this is the thing, we're all hardwired for belief. We're all there's not a person out there who doesn't believe something. But without belief that a certain thing can be accomplished, you never really put forth the effort to try. So you could say you believe it, but your behavior proves whether or not you do. There was a company that I worked for called Donor Services Group, and the owner, Tom Siegel, he was CEO and the owner, and we had gone through an economic downturn. We had, I don't know if we had lost business or business just slowed down, like the influx of work had slowed down. And I remember him gathering the leadership in the conference room, and he said to us, for some of you, this may be your first experience with a downturn, but I've been here before, and we will get through this. And I cannot tell you anything else he said in that meeting, but what I saw him do next, meaning over the next several weeks and months to follow, is to go out and drum up more business. And we were able to actually hire back some of the people that we had to lay off. And so before you seek, check your belief, because it's going to determine what you ultimately find. So if you say, you know, I want to grow my business, and I've got this this thing that I do, and it really blesses people. It really helps people to live better lives. It really improves their lives in some way, right? Because that's the seed of success on any level, is that you're helping people. And you say, you know what, I want to grow my business. What you need to check before you walk out the door seeking something is, what do I believe is possible? Do I believe that that growing this to proportions where I'm blessing thousands and thousands and thousands of people? Do I believe that that's possible? Do I believe that it's possible to bless millions and millions and millions of people? Because what you believe is going to dictate what you search for. When Sarah Blakely was uh, developing Spanx and looking for, getting it out there to share it, to deliver this product, there was a way that she had to approach it, and there was a way that she had to see her product and believe in it against all odds. And one of the things that she did, which I thought was brilliant, is that she, when she developed the product, she called up Neiman Marcus. She called up the buyer and said, hey, I've got this product. It's going to completely revolutionize the undergarment industry. And, if I could just get, maybe 5 minutes of your time and I can show you. And so the woman says, sure, come on down. We're in Dallas. Fly down to Dallas. I'll give you 10 to 15 minutes. And so she's sitting and she's describing this, women, we want, something to wear under our garments. I was looking for, and she explains the story of how she came up with Spanx. I was trying to find something to wear under white pants, and the pantyhose, I didn't really want pantyhose, right? I was looking for something that had pantyhose type material, but I wasn't looking for something that could be seen underneath the clothes. And, I didn't want the girdle because the girdle is too bulky and uncomfortable, and and the thong is really not so great because it's putting underwear back exactly where we were trying to get it out of. And, so one day I just cut the feet off of my pantyhose, and so I came up with this idea. And so she realized in the sales pitch she was losing the woman. She said, you know what? Could you come to the bathroom with me? And she took her to the bathroom, and she put on, she said, this is not weird. She puts on the pants without the Spanx, and then she puts on the Spanx and then the pants on top of it. And the woman says, oh, I get it. You know what? I'm going to give you a shot. I'm going to do an order of 3,000. I'll put you in 7 stores. And so for most people, that's when folks are like, whoo, I got Neiman Marcus. No, Sarah doubled down. She called everybody she knew in the city who was that she was in any way connected to. And she said, look, I need you to go to Neiman Marcus, and here's what I need you to say. I need you to say, I've been looking for this all my life. I'm so glad you guys have this product. Thank you so much. I've really been looking at this. Go buy it, and I will send you a check and pay you back for it. And so she literally took her money and paid for people to go buy her product. And then, of course, the buyer calls, and she says, these things are really selling. People love this. And Sarah says, you don't say. My point being, the ideas that will catapult you to where you want to be are there for you to the degree that you believe that it can be so. And so that belief is just indispensable, that you've got to buy into the idea that I could create something that could help millions of people. You've got to buy into that idea. And if you buy into that idea, then the means will present itself. She called Neiman Marcus up on a cold call. When there were other clothing designers who said, how did you get Neiman Marcus? Like right out the box. And she said, I called them. And they said, and she said, well, what were you doing? She said, oh, we took out a booth at Magic in Vegas, and we were waiting for the Neiman Marcus buyer to come by. Belief will create the means for you to realize what is truly yours to do. But you've got to work on the belief. So before you go out seeking, check your belief. I got a comment. Constance says, I remember when I first started out, that I was seeking answers from God through workshops all the way in Pennsylvania. And when I got there, the same thing that I was learning was what she was teaching. I knew then that I needed to start seeking from within, internal versus external. Yes, that was, it was a brilliant idea. It was absolutely wonderful. Her story, I should put her story. It's not part of universal law, but her looking at the video of her what's the word I want to say? Looking at the video of her talk about her idea is amazing, and it is so inspiring. And so definitely I encourage you to look her up. All right. How to be a high level seeker. So we've established that we're perpetual seekers because we're always finding something, but now we want to kind of be a little bit more targeted with the seeking. And so the first thing, like Constance said, is to look to God within for guidance. And what I share with you is that, in 2000, I really didn't know how to pray to Spirit within to overcome the inertia that kept killing my workday. But today, I don't start the day until I've checked in with Spirit on my priorities. Number 2, remember, it's not about you. It's not about you. The gifts and talents with which you've been endowed do not belong to us, and they increase in proportion and bring us joy as we share them with the world. Quite literally, your gift expressed, not just your gift, but your gift expressed is the light of the world. Number 3, your job title is co-pilot, not pilot. So while the buck may stop with you and your company, the buck should never stop with you as far as you are concerned. You want to always appeal to your higher self on every matter. And so something that May McArthur does is that she literally has a meeting every morning with God. And he has a title and he's on her org chart. He is the Chief Spiritual Officer. Number 4, you're only the boss of you. Yes, people work for you, but they have their own dreams, goals, aspirations. You want an atmosphere where dreams can thrive, because if you give other people permission to dream, it opens the floodgates for you to be able to dream. Number 5, you got to use what you've got. Make use of every truth principle you know. The Spirit will meet you at your point of limitation. Do the best you know how to do right now and let that be enough. So one of the things that Sarah talks about is that she didn't have a sales force, right? She didn't have a sales force, and she didn't have money for marketing. So she's, sent she got it in the stores, and then she sent friends to go buy it from the stores. But the other thing that she did, she literally brought on different team members that helped her with the launch of the company and all of that. And then she went on the road and she literally went to store by store by store by store. And she would be there for the morning rallies. And she said, in hindsight, what she wanted was for them to be excited about the product. In hindsight, what she realized was that she was building a sales force because they would be able to talk about the products. And then what she did and didn't get permission to do is that she literally took the Spanx display, because she went and she saw her product lined up against, Donna Karan and whatever the other, designers are. And their designers had a very specific look, and hers was with this animated woman. And so she was like, I'm never going to be able to stand out. And so on her own, she took it and set it up next to the cash register. So if you go into Neiman Marcus, you'll notice that Spanx it's a well-known brand now, so it has its own section. But at the time, it was by the cash register. And this is Neiman Marcus. And so what happened was that everybody kept thinking that somebody else approved it. And and so she was able to sell and get her stuff out there because she was just ballsy enough to go move it and put it by the cash register. Let's hear. And and in putting it by the cash register, of course, women see it and oh, what's this? Let me try it out. But literally at every store, somebody else thought that somebody else approved. Nobody had approved it, but she just kept doing it. And because it was you just use what you got, whatever it is. And it's take chances and reach and do all that you know to do with what you have right now. Just go out there and take a chance. Go out there and take a chance. You just never know what will happen. You just flat out don't know. And so but you've got to believe in it enough, because again, you won't do this if you don't believe it. You won't try it if you don't believe it. If you don't believe that what you have can serve millions of people, you won't try it. Constance says, man, when you said the gift is not about you, the thought just popped in my head that I need to join the choir because I can sing a little bit. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes. Okay, let me move on to the next slide. She has an awesome story. Look her up. Number 6, expand your expectations. Continually work on yourself to believe for more. The Spirit can bring you no more than you expect to receive. Oh, Lord, I can't stress that enough. God has an infinite supply to give you, but he cannot give you any more than you expect. Let that sink in. God has an infinite supply, but he cannot give you any more than you expect. And so in that morning meeting with the Spirit, with God, with your chief spiritual officer, your question is, cultivate in me an expectation for more. Develop in me the ability to believe beyond where I am, to see beyond where I am. And then number 7, be alert to inspiration from every direction. Look for the lesson in every experience, not just in what happens at your office, but just let everything teach you something that can apply to what you're trying to accomplish. The second law, I'm so over time, y'all, but if just roll with me. Ask and you will receive. So he tweaks this ask and you will receive to read ask the Spirit with faith and you will receive. And again, we come to this whole idea of belief, because we never really ask for that which we do not believe we can have. And it occurred to me that maybe we have a hang up about asking. So there are a couple of scenarios, like maybe you've gone to a friend, you've got some bad advice, and it costs you something important. And then when you hear somebody say, well, ask the Spirit, it brings to mind every time that you've asked a friend and gotten the raw deal. Or maybe we know we can get an answer from a physical person, even if it's a bad answer, but we don't have the same level of certainty that we can receive an answer from the intangible, invisible Spirit. We have no concept of what it means to reach for an answer on a higher level of consciousness than the one from which we created the problems we now faced. And so we can't trust our friends, right? To give us the best advice, but we don't have the faith to trust God. And so we start relying on our brain power, right? And McArthur writes, we create problems by relying on our own minds for answers. And then we expect the same mind to figure out the right answer. And so when you ask God for an answer, it literally sends a signal to your deeper mind that something is coming and it's not coming from you. Something is coming and it's not coming for you, because if you have it, you don't have to ask for it, right? If I need food, I don't have to ask for food because I've got food, right? I only need to ask if I don't think I have it. So the act of asking from God primes you to receive. Someone would say, well, why if God knows what I need and God withholds nothing, why do I need to ask? You need to ask because the asking literally opens the portal in you for it to come. Asking opens up your heart for it to come. And it impresses your deeper mind that something is coming and it's not coming from you. And so it literally conditions you to receive. Asking conditions you to receive. Now, a very important part of this is that you need to figure out what kind of universe you live in. Einstein said the most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or hostile universe. It's the most important decision, because whatever you decide, whether it's friendly or hostile, it's going to alter everything. You, your business, your relationships, everything. And so you want to ask yourself, how do I see the world? Is it a dog-eat-dog world? Is it a sad state of affairs? Is it going to hell in a handbasket? If you want to tap the limits of your success as a spiritual entrepreneur, you need to settle this question for yourself. And you need to think about all the things that are happening in the physical world, like Puerto Rico, Miami, Houston, Las Vegas, the 3 service members that were killed in Niger, I think in Niger, the whole thing with North Korea, can you consider all that is happening in the physical world and still conclude that you live in a friendly universe? I mean, that's real talk. Can you think about everything that is happening and still conclude, like truly, not just in the, okay, so here, let me say this. I'm going to get in your face. Not just, God is good, the world is good, and the universe is friendly, and it's like what you parrot, but that you actually believe it. Because remember, you can't find beyond your belief. You can't seek beyond your belief. You can't ask beyond your belief. So can you actually look at all that is happening and still conclude in an authentic way, not in a platitude kind of way, but in an authentic way, that this universe is still friendly? I mean, really work with that. Can you do that? Because because if it's not, it controls your action. Why reach for more if the universe is a dog eat dog world? Unless you decide to be a dog. I mean, that's kind of how it works. If the universe is just jacked up, right? I saw somebody. It was in response to Vegas, and I really have tried to stay off of social media as much as possible because it's just so much, and I don't want any of that in my mind because I'm going somewhere. God is taking me somewhere. But I saw someone write, "I hate humans." Okay, so they may have been sarcastic on some level, but the universe knows no joke, and the deeper mind knows no joke. What limitations what box do you put yourself in? In what ways do you constrict yourself if the world is so bad that I hate humans? Because if I hate humans, am I really interested in serving humanity? If I think the world is going to hell in a handbasket and we just, biding our time before all hell breaks loose and everything just the planet just explodes from all the ignorance that's flying around right now, that if I really believe that, why would I reach for the deeper part of myself? It just wouldn't. Constance said, that may sound harsh, yet I know that the universe is responding to every ask. Yes, it is. She says, can I still conclude that I live in a beautiful, friendly universe? Yes, because I realize that everyone is asking for what is being played out. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I want to check one other place. Okay. Cool. So Wallace Wattles, you should take a look at this chapter. I don't remember I think it's chapter 6. And it's called Social Point of View. And the whole chapter is the bomb. But I just put a little quote here. He said, this distinguishing characteristic of all really great men and women is an unwavering faith. What do they have faith in? That the world and all it contains is perfect, though not completed. Now, he wasn't saying that the world is perfect, like the things that are happening should happen, but that it is a perfectly contained universe, similar to what Constance is saying, that whatever is here has been asked for. Now, we may not have just like the young person experimenting with illicit substances may not be consciously aware that they're inviting death or inviting brain disease or dysfunction. They may not be consciously aware that they're inviting all of that. But if it's here, it's been asked for. If it's here, it was sought. And if it's here, it was behind a door that was knocked on. Now, I'm not advocating passivity in the face of gross injustice. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you got to think about Martin Luther King, that for Martin Luther King to do what he did, he had to have a great faith that humanity could be better. That he could look at the reality of how people were behaving and advocate for something better and do something about it. There are many people who thought that humanity could be better, but didn't necessarily have a belief that turned into action. And so what you see is that everything is created twice. Whatever you see outwardly was first created inwardly. And so you always have to keep in mind that the science of how the mind works does not change because of injustice or severe tragedy. The extreme nature of injustice or tragedy can make it difficult to see the mind of God at work, but you can really trust that God never changes. And so this savagery that we see between the races or between countries or like what happened in Vegas, it could not appear outwardly unless it was first created inwardly. Here's the thing, nothing better is going to be possible until we ask for something different. And I don't mean ask like, God, please make this stop. But I mean ask like with behavior, with actions, with advocacy, with every fiber of our being. That again, going back to the example of Sarah Blakely, that she was asking for $1 billion company by getting on the road and for 2 years traveling from store to store to store to store, showing up at the morning rallies, getting the sales clerks excited about her product, talking to them about it, hearing feedback from the customers, meeting the customers. She would just stay in the store and meet the customers who were trying different things. And she was asking for $1 billion company. And so nothing better shall be possible. Vegas, Puerto Rico, Houston, Miami, Beaumont, right? Nothing better shall be possible until we ask for something different. And asking is not just that it begins with the question, right? But it has to be followed up with some action. And so in my opinion, this is where the spiritual entrepreneur can help, because our goal is to serve humankind. That whether we're selling a spiritually related product or not, we are here to serve. And so we are the very people who will dare to see something greater and to ask for it in the midst of seeming chaos, to dare to ask for it, to dare to ask for it. That's who we are. And so you got to decide, what kind of universe do you live in? And because here's the thing, everybody's not living in the same universe, and you have control over the universe you live in. The third law, knock and the door will open, right? So he says, knock with faith and spirit and the door is going to be open. Nothing happens until you move. Nothing changed for me in my business until I got hired onto a project as a production secretary. That job then led to every other project that followed. Now, if you feel stuck, just take action. Get moving. The universe will shift and begin to bring you other opportunities. What he says is that you knock by accepting and using that which you receive. A bridge can always be built from where you are to where you want to be. You are never so far off track that God can't help you turn it around. And so the question is, what have you been given from your asking and have you received from your seeking? And whatever it is, it's exactly what you need to put to work right now. So when I was sitting at my desk, I was paralyzed by inaction, right? Only thing I could receive or be given was a job. It wasn't the entrepreneurial windfall I wanted, but it got the ball rolling in other areas. And it gave me skills and insight that I didn't know I needed to be a more effective entrepreneur. I didn't know my answer would come in the form of the very thing I was avoiding. So whenever you face a situation and don't know what to do, or the condition seems hopeless, figure out what you have been given and what you have received and make use of that. Because wherever you are and whatever you have is exactly what you need to succeed. And so just really be in that space that whatever, there's a law of divine placement, that I am where I am. I cannot be where I am not. And so I am going to be in this space right now, and I'm going to maximize everything that is here right now. That there were skills, the chasm between where you are and where you want to be, that chasm is bridged by skills. Whatever it is bridged by skills. And so What you have to be willing to do is to trust that what has shown up is going to supply you with the skill that you need to move to that next level. It's to trust that process, to really, really trust that process, and to trust that the Spirit knows. If I could have gotten the skills that I needed from a class, God would have sent it to me in a class. You get what I'm saying? And so you've got to look at the things that are coming and not treat them as if they are setbacks, but rather as if they are set ups for your ultimate success. You've got to trust the process. That when one of the things that happened with Sarah when she was on the path of developing Spanx is that she needed to patent Spanx. And so she looked up, she found out, first of all, that there were no women patent attorneys in the state of Georgia, which is where she was based. And she looked up different patent attorneys and she found 3 like in the yellow pages. And she went to them and they all pretty much laughed her out of their office. And so for a lot of people, and they either gave her a price that they knew she couldn't afford, which was like, she had $5,000 total for the entire project to develop Spanx. They either gave her a price that they knew she couldn't afford, or they just laughed her out of the office and told her this was the stupidest idea they ever heard. And so she ends up going and buying a book from the from the bookstore on patents and writes up her own patent. And she takes it as far as she can go. And then she calls one of the least unnice of the attorneys and goes back to him. And he says to her, you know, when you came here, I thought you were a joke. I thought I was looking for the hidden cameras because I thought I was being pranked by either Candid Camera or some of my friends. And she said, well, look, I've taken this as far as I can take it, but this legalese part, the part that I can't write up, I need you to write that part up. And he agreed to do it for $700, which she could afford. There is this, when you hit those roadblocks, it is getting resourceful. That lack of resources does not mean no. Lack of resources means it's time to be resourceful with what you have, and to do all that you know to do. All that you know to do. Constance says, say that again. Everyone is not living in the same universe. Yes. She says, I get that. Wherever you are on your path is where you need to be to get the answers from what you are doing and being. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. So putting this to work, right? Because we all want to know what the decision that I make today is the right decision, right? You want to know that this is the one I'm supposed to make. So if I could speak to my 30-year-old self who was struggling to figure out why she couldn't take action on a dream that meant so much to her, I would say you need to get in touch with spirit and stay in touch with spirit to get mental clarity on how to build this business. And then I would explain, using McArthur's words, that the legs, the foundations of attunement are prayer, meditation, and faith. You need the faith to believe that you live in a friendly universe and can receive the questions you have from the invisible. And then you need to act like it by showing up every morning for a meeting with God and asking those questions. The basic requirement for this to work is that you got to believe that this guidance is available and expect to receive it. Disbelief and doubt turn off the connection. Now, prayer and meditation can happen in a number of ways. You can literally walk it out or talk it out. I mentioned to you earlier, Mae McCarthy, you know, she has a morning meeting with her CSO, the chief spiritual officer. And she even went so far as to put God on her org chart for her business. And in this quiet time, she reviews her company's priorities with the CSO, and she adjusts them as she feels guided and directed. And I do a very similar thing in terms of my planning the night before, and then in the morning, re-looking over the schedule to make sure that my priorities are where they should be. There's a book by Tom Hartman called Walking Your Blues Away, and he talks about taking your concerns on a walk and letting the bipedal motion of walking begin to shake up the energy in your body and your mind so that you can hear the divine right answer. But the bottom line is that you got to believe that you can get your answers from spirit, your questions answered by spirit, and then you got to reach for those answers. And so ask, start looking, and take action with whatever shows up. And so to really grasp that mental clarity is yours. It's already done. It's if you can start with that premise that I already know what to do, right? Meaning I don't consciously know, but there's a part of me that does know. And take the question that's on your heart, write it down. What is it? What is the question on your heart? And then take it into your meditation. Sit with that question. If it's, should I call this person or do this, or whatever it is, and then believe that you will get an answer in a way that you can receive it. Jordan teaches me so much. I've shared this story before, but I think it bears repeating, that we were working on a puzzle, and it was 20 pieces, and it was a train, and it had numbers on it, and it had animals on it, and the number of animals agreed with the number on the piece, right? So piece number 1 had a 1 and 1 moose. Piece number 2 had a 2 and 2 bumblebees, and so forth on to 20. And so we were working together. So he was younger, and we were putting it together, and he knew animals, but he didn't recognize his numbers. And so as we were working on the puzzle, I said, well, Jordan, give me the one with the number 2. Well, he couldn't figure out what that was because he didn't know his numbers. He didn't know what those symbols meant, but he did know his animals. And I said, well, give me the one with the 2 bumblebees. And so he looked for the one with the bumblebees and gave me the one with the bumblebees. And so we kept going. And then at different times, he would kind of sort of lose interest. And I would say, no, stay here. Look for the one with the giraffes, on it. And so he would look for the one with the giraffes. And as I was working with him on this, I said, this is how God works with us, that he will give us the answers that we need in the form that we can receive them. And provided that we don't quit when we hit a wall, when we hit that space where we don't know what to do next, or that we don't know the exact right step, but that if we listen, because, to the degree that Jordan listened and followed through and didn't quit, we finished the puzzle. And sometimes we think that, I've got to know so much more. But really, God will teach you what you need to know in the process. Whatever it is that you need to know for the dream to be realized. Something that Sarah revealed in her story is that she didn't know anything about business. She didn't major in business. She found out what a C Corp was when she said, well, what do I need to do? And they said, well, you need a business entity. And she was like, okay. And I think she chose a S Corp because her first name began with S. She was like, that sounds good. Like, this is $1 billion company. It's to trust that I will get the instructions that I need in the form that I need them. And to not think that another book or another seminar or another anything is going to give me something that I cannot make use of right now. That's really, that right now the puzzle can be solved in my life, this moment. But what it takes is a surrender to work with the spirit within, and we can do that. We can do that. That it takes a spiritual entrepreneur to do that. And this is not a worldly approach, because the world would tell you need to get out there, you need to grind, you need to suffer, it's got a whole litany of things that you need to do. But that's not the spiritual approach. The spiritual approach is there's a divine blueprint for this. It may look like I'm creating out of thin air, but what I'm actually doing is I'm downloading what the spirit is giving me, and I'm trusting the process and being led by spirit. So some things I do might look like what regular entrepreneurs do, but many things that I do will never look like what other entrepreneurs do. And I have the spiritual confidence to stand in that. to really, really, really own that. One thing that helps me is to affirm that the right answer is now coming to me. And if I'm unclear, keep asking until I get clarity. Sometimes when we don't get the answer or we don't get the clarity, we stop asking. But again, let your behavior prove that you are asking for what you say you want. Thank you so much for tonight. I hope this was helpful. I went over 20 minutes, so thank you for bearing with me on that. And what's the question I want to say? That's it. Any questions? Oh, subscribe. If this is helpful, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can subscribe to my newsletter at revsherri.com. Head over to the Universal Law Library from the website. From the website, revsherri.com. And thank you guys so much for tonight. Thank you, Alicia. This is very helpful. Yes, thank you. Oh, thank you, Eve. He says this is a very powerful lesson tonight. Thank you. God bless you guys. So chapter 15, I don't remember what the name of chapter 15 is, but chapter 15 for next week. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great night.